Messing around with anyone in a group described as being special forces is definitely a bad idea. While there are plenty of famous military units around the world, special forces are a different ballgame altogether. In terms of accuracy, marksmanship, warfare, intelligence, and hand combat, these guys are deadly. They're only given the type of missions where an average soldier is insufficient. Let's check out some of the special forces whose soldiers you shouldn't mess with. The British Royal Navy Special Boat Service, or SBS, is the UK's most elite and secretive military unit. These guys abide by the motto, not by strength, by guile. So you can imagine just how intelligent or clever you would need to be to join such a group. They're comparable to the US Navy SEALs, and their selection process has a 90% failure rate. During training, potential SBS soldiers go through a challenging 4-week-long endurance test that ends with a grueling 40-kilometer, 24.8-mile march that has to be completed in under 20 hours. And that's not all. The rest of the training is just as insane. The following phase, for example, is where soldiers learn to master complex fighting styles, survival tactics, and jungle training before being officially inducted into the unit. The SBS has a long history. The group initially was formed during World War II, and they have been deployed most recently against groups like Al-Qaeda, the Taliban, and ISIS. Meet the guys who took out Saddam Hussein. You definitely don't want to mess with USA's Delta Force, because these guys are handpicked from the creme de la creme of the Army Rangers, the Green Berets, the Navy, and the Air Force. Delta Force is the US Army's elite counterterrorism unit, but they also carry out covert strikes and missions that make James Bond look like a Boy Scout. Delta Force training includes learning about assault team tactics, tactical driving, weapons, hand-to-hand combat, and vehicle takedowns. Their final exam tests candidates both psychologically and physically by putting them through a joint breaching operation in a simulated or staged hostage situation with live fire. Delta Force missions are highly classified, like Operation Red Dawn, which fleshed out Saddam Hussein. The Syriet Matkal are Israel's highly secretive special ops brigade specializing in small arms, intelligence gathering, and martial arts. Wannabe recruits attend a selection camp called Gibesh, where they're made to endure hardcore training exercises under constant supervision of doctors and psychologists. Only the strongest making it to the unit. One of Syria's Matkal's most famous operations was the famous rescue mission at Entebbe in 1976, which involved freeing hostages held on Air France Flight 139 at Uganda's Entebbe airport. A single Israeli soldier faced off against 6 hijackers and 45 Ugandan soldiers. Unfortunately, 3 hostages were killed during the operation, but 100 were successfully freed. You might have heard the phrase, "Who dare wins," but did you know that's the motto of the famous British SAS, or Special Air Service? These guys aren't your run-of-the-mill stiff upper-lip Brits. They are a deadly fighting force who often find themselves in wild jungles, barren deserts, open mountain ranges, and urban environments. When they retire, they make a fortune writing bestsellers based on their real-life experiences. One of their most famous missions was the successful handling of the 1980 hostage crisis at the Iranian embassy in London, when troopers disoriented the terrorists with stun grenades and killed 5 of 6 hostiles, rescuing 19 hostages. France's Groupe d'Intervention de la Gendarmerie Nationale, or GIGN, is a deadly cocktail of Delta Force and SWAT. It is one of the world's most experienced counter-terrorist organizations, and they are responsible for responding to domestic attacks and terrorist threats. GIGN recruits go through a notorious brutal training program that lasts 14 months. Only those who make it through the entire course are accepted into the elite unit. This program includes weapons training, hand-to-hand combat training, survival training, bomb disposal, and airborne courses, including halo jumps. The GIGN program is notable for having one of the world's best marksmanship schools, and you certainly wouldn't want to get in a fight with these guys. The Spanish Special Naval Warfare Force, or FREZA, was created in 2009 by merging the units of the Special Operations Unit, the Special Combat Divers Unit, and the Special Explosive Diffusers Unit. This makes them real badasses, especially since they are responsible for some of the most extreme missions you can imagine, like combat search and rescue, air and amphibious insertion, and maritime counterterrorism, shipboarding, and combat diving. The FREZA group has been active in making life hell for pirates. One mission in particular made headlines during Operation Enduring Freedom. They stormed a North Korean Scud missile transportation vessel on its way to Yemen in 2002. While this one assignment garnered a lot of attention, most of the Special Naval War Force's missions remain secret and classified. The Commando Pasukan Khusus, or the Special Forces Commands in English, is a special force unit widely known by the acronym Kopassus. They're Indonesia's most lethal special forces unit and has been active since 1952. They're the ones who take direct action against any threats to their nation. Their training regimen is extreme, but it toughens them up for missions that span everything from waging unconventional warfare and intelligence gathering to counterterrorism, sabotage, and counterinsurgency. The most well-known mission carried out by Kopassus was when an Islamic extremist group hijacked Garuda Flight 206 in 1981. When the aircraft landed, a Kopassus commando executed a fast-paced operation in which he killed 3 hijackers and freed 50 passengers. Poland's Group for Operational Maneuvering Response, or Grom, is the country's own special forces, and these are guys you certainly don't want to mess with. Grom, which means thunder, is a unit that traces its roots all the way back to World War II, and included exiled World War II Polish paratroopers who were known as the Silent Unseen. They trained for months in Great Britain before being deployed in Nazi-occupied Poland. The Grom was again organized in 1990 to take part in Operation Bridge, a mission to prevent the terrorist organization Hezbollah from attacking Soviet Jews entering Israel. The Grom's existence was only revealed in 1994 when they were deployed to execute Operation Restore Democracy in Haiti. Grom members have mastery of military disciplines like pyrotechnics, vehicle handling, parachuting, diving, and amphibious insertion. They even have medical training. Next up are the US Navy SEALs, one of the deadliest special forces units in the world. Created in 1962, the SEALs are a specialized division that gets its name from the United States Navy Sea, Air, and Land Unit. And don't even ask what kind of training these guys go through because it's totally insane. It involves things like marching overnight for long distances while carrying heavy backpacks. These guys are regular Rambos who are put through intense and hellish training to improve their physical abilities and combat prowess. The SEALs are capable of unconventional warfare, such as working underwater, dealing with reconnaissance, rescuing hostages, and counterterrorism. By far, the SEALs' most famous operation to date is when the unit was sent to take out Osama bin Laden in 2011. At number 1 on our list is the dreaded and cold Spetsnaz unit, Russia's mysterious badass military special forces unit. The Spetsnaz was created by the KGB and has its origins in the Red Bolshevik Guard, a paramilitary force organized at a time when the Russian Revolution was at its peak in the early 20th century. While they are sometimes compared to the US Army Rangers, only a few candidates are selected after grueling and intense training sessions similar to the Delta Force. The Spetsnaz have experience in battlefield reconnaissance, targeting enemy tactical weapons and advantages, and shattering the enemy lines of supply and chain of command. Russia has recently been ramping up its efforts in modeling the Spetsnaz to be more like their American counterparts.